Okay, I noticed in the last part I kind of got cut off at the end there. Not sure exactly what happened, but basically what got cut off is we just created a double called start time, and we set that equal to 0. And then after that, we need to take a look at one more value that we need to keep track of. And if you look at our example, we just need to keep track of what the current level is going to be. We need a member for this. That way, for example, our current level for the first iteration will be our full level that was sent to us. And then we have to subtract our fade value from it to get the level for the second one, third one, etc. So let's just create that member. It is going to be of type level. Let's just call it current level. We're going to set that initially to the level that was sent to this method. Okay, so now we basically have everything we need to get going and create our loop. We want to start the loop right after our list command nodes definition here. So let's just pop it in here, give ourselves a little bit of space. And if you remember, I said I just decided on creating a simple for loop for this. So we'll just do for some integer value I. We'll start that at 0. We will keep counting, keep looping. As long as I is less than our period count, and we'll increase I by 1 each time. Okay, this loop, the first ellipse will be right away, and the second one will be right after this command nodes.add. So that creates our for loop. Now, just to go through what's going on here, what will happen is it'll come through the first time, and I will be 0. It will create our first command for our first period, then add that command to our list, and then it'll go through. It'll make the next command, then add that command to the list. So, for example, in our example, we have 6 total periods, so there will be a total of 6 commands that get added to the list. So let's go ahead and fix this command node. We just have to make a couple of changes. In this first part, instead of sending the initial level that was sent to us each time, we are going to send our current level. Instead of always starting it at 0, we are always going to start it at whatever our start time is. And instead of it running for the entire span, we are going to run it for the length of our period, but we have to convert that to a time span type. So it's time span dot from milliseconds, and that is for the length of our period, which is, at this point, it is 25 milliseconds. Okay, so after it creates our command and adds it to the list, all we need to do is prepare our values for the next time around. So in order to do that, we just need to increase the start time. So our start time, we need to add the period to it. So we're adding 25 milliseconds to it. And then we have to decrease our current level by the fade value. So current level minus equals fade value. Okay, now that's almost our entire effect complete, but we do have to handle one special case. If we look at our example and look at the last period, you'll notice that this period is not the full 25 milliseconds. So we don't want it we don't want to create a command that runs 25 milliseconds when we only need 20 milliseconds. So in order to handle that, all we need to do is, after each period, we just need to keep track of how much time is left. That way, we can set our period to, when we get to the last, our last period, we can set that last period to the time, however much time is left. Another thing I'd like to do is make sure when we do that check, also make sure that the current level is set to 0. That'll take care just in case that the fade value we create is not some decimal, and when we get down here that the actual fade value will work out to be 0.0001 whatever. So that's simple enough to do. We already have our time member created. We called it time left, and this is the reason why. So we just need to decrease that value. So time left minus equal period. So that will keep track of how much time's left. So all we have left to do is we got to add the check to see if it is that last period. Give ourselves a little bit of room. So let's just say if I is equal to our period count minus 1. The reason the minus 1 gets put there is, if you'll notice, in this loop we started at 0, and we said we're going to run it till it's the period count, as long as it's less than the period count. So it'll never actually reach the period count. And in here, all we want to do is we want to set the start time, or I'm sorry, we want to set the period to however amount of time is left. Again, in our example, it was 20 milliseconds, so our period now is 20 milliseconds instead of 25 milliseconds, but only for the last period. We just want to set our current level equal to 0. And I believe we do have to cast it to a level type. So there you go. So basically all it's doing for each loop is going to say, it's going to come down, it's going to say, hey, is it the last level or is it the last period? If it is, we want the period to be whatever time is left, and we want to make sure that the current level is 0. And this should be it. At this point we can go ahead and build it. And once it builds hopefully correctly, we can go ahead and open it up and test. Alright, so let's go ahead and test it. Drag our effect tutorial and you'll see that it starts at top level. By default we set it at 100 and fades on down to 0. You'll also see if we move it around, it does do the adjust, takes care of all that. And we can even edit it. And let's set this value to 50. Click OK. And you'll see it starts off at a dimmed value of 50 and goes down to 0. So that's it. Now we have a complete semi-interesting fade effect, and that is the end of this tutorial. So hope it helped you out.